Hello and welcome to Timekeeper Talk. I guess we're calling it that on Fandom Spotlite. And happy new episode eve, everybody. So we're coming to you live from the inner tubes. I'm Dan Tabor and I'm joined by Yali. Introduce yourself.
I'm back. I'm the hater of the group. I'm glad to piss on your parade. No, I have something nice to say this time around. I'm the content curator here at Fandom Spotlite. I also work for Big Anime. You just have to guess which of those big anime I work for, and I'm glad to be back. It's nice to see you guys.
Nice.
Hey, it's Rachel. I'm back once again. I'm here a writer at Fandom Spotlite. I blog about books, have lots of opinions about fandoms, and I'm here just to try to figure out what is happening in the Marvel Universe as I ride along with the Loki train.
Hi, I'm Seth Everett. I am not a part of Fandom Spotlite. I think they're nice. They're very nice people so far. I am a broadcaster for iHeartMedia, normally in sports, but I also have a podcast called The Hall of Justice. And the slogan is, if you're old enough to know what the Hall of Justice is, you're our demographic.
Awesome. So I'm also, I write about movies and film, and I'm on Rotten Tomatoes. And last night I got the invite to, hey, do you want to see Black Widow? So I'm going to give my quick reaction of, I saw Black Widow last night. I would easily say it's in my top 5 MCU sort of batch. It's a dark film, which I was impressed with because, you know, they kind of stuck to the sort of, I guess, what they've kind of hinted at with the character of Black Widow and the Widows. And they've kind of gone full on with that, which I don't think this made 5 years ago, which I always lamented that, why are we still waiting on this Black Widow film? But we've had 2 Wonder Womans and a Harley Quinn. But like, I can imagine like somebody walking into Marvel and saying, okay, we've got this script where it's got, you know, human trafficking, it's got a lot of feminism, and it's got a lot of bad people in it and really gray areas and violence. And I could have them say, well, your script's okay, but, you know, we want Hawkeye or Captain America to come in at the end and kind of save her butt. None of that's in there. Florence Pugh is a treasure. Hibber is like a ghast in this thing. Like, he is like the sort of like he's kind of like almost oblivious to everything, which is kind of great because the thing is the women kind of hold this film together, which I really enjoyed. And it really dug into sort of like the nature of the character and how Black Widow came to be Black Widow. And I thought that it was true to Scarlett Johansson's sort of take on the character. And I thought that they actually gave her some time to shine finally, because normally she's the person that just broods, or they even make fun of the posing, like the whole thing where she crouches down. They finally kind of like, and the thing that really kind of resonated with me was Florence Pugh got the sort of the one-liners in this, which, you know, usually the Marvel movies, you get the guy, he's got the one-liners, he's really, you know, comical, and that's kind of Florence Pugh in this, which I'm wondering how that's gonna like, are people gonna like that or they aren't, because like I mean, if you've seen Midsummer, if you've seen Fighting My Family, you know this girl can act. And in this, she kind of brings it. And Hibber also is pretty great in it as well. And, you know, it's an interesting dynamic, and I think it pays off. And I think it's a much bleaker Marvel film, but I think it's the Marvel film Black Widow kind of deserves. And it also actually ties into the movies because I don't want to get into too much spoiler territory here, but there's a certain piece that sort of falls in the stinger. So make sure
she still dies at the end.
Sadly, yes. I mean,
but
we've
spoilers aren't really
one
a
thing
thing in
we've
a
discussed
prequel.
is it doesn't matter because people don't have to die because they brought Vision back already, technically. And we've also like kind of skated around some other things. I mean, Loki might be back. So if you're dead in comic books, you're never really dead. But in this one, it's kind of like the passing of the baton from Scarlett Johansson to Florence Pugh, and also bringing in some of the people that we've already seen in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and kind of starting to mesh these two worlds together. So I suggest if you're listening to this and watching us babble on about Loki, you're probably going to see this anyway. But I definitely thought it was worth the wait as far as I'm concerned. I thought it kicked ass, and I thought Scarlett Johansson gave the character the send-off she kind of needed after. I mean, they've been trying to get this thing going for like a decade now at this point. So yeah,
that's Black Widow. It after Civil War, and it would have been more gripping. And there's nothing. I've not seen it, but there's nothing they can do that reverses Endgame. And so because of that, this is not a movie I've been waiting for. They've been delaying it, and I'm okay with that. I have not spent one night going, "Oh, I only wish Black Widow
I mean, same too."
And that's nothing against Scarlett Johansson.
There,
I could care less what happens.
I was like,
because I know how it ends.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's the same thing. It's like the Ant-Man and the Wasp when that hit. We kind of already knew what happened there, but like my whole thing was like,
you hadn't seen Endgame. You'd seen Infinity War, but you hadn't seen Endgame.
But we kind of already knew where everything was going. So I really wasn't like, I was like, okay, but like this one, I think had a good enough story and a good enough through line, because like we rarely get to spend any time with that character. So we got to finally see her world, and we got to see how she does things, which was interesting. And the whole dynamic that they put in, because, you know, this is, I mean, if you've seen the trailer, I guess, you know, they're this fake family that was undercover, and they kind of joined forces again. So it's kind of like a different thing than what we've seen, and they're dealing with some very bad individuals. So, you know, it's also nice to see kind of the underbelly of the MCU. Everybody's not, you know, trying to look good in front of the cameras. These are people that kill people and do terrible things. So I kind of like that sort of like dichotomy of kind of like, you know, we got a little bit of that in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and to see this kind of world again. I liked when they kind of went to that, like the underworld, and kind of spent some time in there. I mean, so that's Black Widow. That was great. We're here to discuss Loki, which was episode 3, which was Lamentis, and congratulations, we're halfway through the show now. Episode 3. So some stats. This was the title of the show was Lamentis, which means lament. Thematically appropriate here. This was the shortest episode at 43 minutes, which was kind of a bummer. Most of the shows have been like 50. This one was 43. And this was written by the same writer who is writing Miss Marvel, Bisha K. Ali. Now, we know that Lady Loki called herself Sylvie in this and kind of enchants folks. And I wanted to take this time to kind of say somebody in this panel was right, kind of called her out as the Enchantress. And I'm pretty sure that what they did is they did a melding of characters where we had Lady Death and Hela, and we kind of jammed them together to get Hela in Thor Ragnarok. And in this, I have a feeling Sylvie might stick around as the Enchantress. So Yali, kudos, man, you figured it out.
Thank you. I will put my Cash App in the chat so you can pay me for being right. I thought I think it was just way too obvious by making her a blonde. I'm like, anyone who knows anything about the Loki's world or Thor's world knows that Enchantress is the blonde one. So
at first you were like, I didn't like the fact that she was a blonde.
I didn't like because I was like, if you're gonna make her Enchantress, don't make it so easy to figure out, you know? Like, I just feel like I'm not sure. I can't tell who this show is targeting, like who's their demographic. Are you targeting the people who know the source cold, or are you targeting the people who don't know much about it at all? Are you trying to do both? And I don't think the show knows who it's after. You know, if you wanted to teach someone new about the Enchantress, then why not make her hair dark and make her think that she's Lady Loki, and then comes to find out she's not Lady Loki at all, she's the Enchantress. Like, I don't think it knows who it's playing to, and so I think that's the main struggle that the show has overall. It doesn't know who its audience is, and it hurts the show in the long run. And the fact that this episode was 43 minutes, it felt like it was over an hour. I thought it dragged the entire time, and I was just waiting for it to be over.
I thought this would be like your jam, because this was the episode where we finally get the Doctor Who episode. We get the bottle episode.
No, I mean, I liked it. The singing was cute, but then I was just like, can we hurry up? Like, this is not, it doesn't serve the story, the story at all. It felt weird for a season that has 6 episodes to have a filler episode. This is what it felt like a filler episode. I'm like, we don't really have time to be wasting, and neither do they. They need to hurry up and get on this this arc and get the fuck off the planet. So like, I don't know. Mixed feelings, very mixed feelings.
So we kind of started this episode off seeing Lady Loki or Sylvie's perspective on the last few minutes of the last episode, which I thought was interesting. And then she's about to get on the golden elevator because we find out she knows where the timekeepers is. So here we see Sylvie try to enchant somebody, which is kind of funny because she should know that magic doesn't work in the TVA, which was that kind of threw me through a loop. But we get to see Sylvie finally throw down, which I thought was interesting. And she beat the crap out of some people. Like, I was impressed. Girl got skills. So what do we?
She's also
what
done
do we?
a major media tour since the episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's been on everything. Has she been on this show?
Not yet. We're working on it.
She's next.
I wish, man. I mean, God bless her. I mean, the thing is people like that kind of break out like this and sort of like, I mean, the thing is will she be able to keep that momentum going? That's the question with these sort of roles. You get these roles, you break out, and are you going to stay in the public eye, or are you going to keep doing things, or are you going to get moved to the back or just disappear? Because some people like do these great roles and people like them, and then they just up and disappear, and then you see them at a con in 3 years and wonder what the hell happened. So talking about the gold elevators, so what do we think the grand plan is here with Sylvie? Also, my other question is, do we think those charges that she set off were merely a distraction, or were they set after periods of time? Let's start with Rachel, because we haven't heard anything from Rachel in a little bit. What do you think? What do you think is the grand plan here for Sylvie?
I think initially when the second episode, I thought she was trying to plant stuff in different dimensions and different times to at least get the plan started before Loki, bust up in there and was like, "Hey, look at me!" And she's like, "No, you're ruining my master plan." But I mean, ultimately, it, like, well, he's trying to dismantle the TVA. Her mission is a lot on a larger scale, but messing with the timelines, I think, is just a small piece of it.
I think I said last episode I knew where some of the charges were already going, so which were related.
I didn't even catch that.
Wait, because of the comic book.
That and some of I'm the nerd who will zoom in and look up close. You can see on the TemPad some of the coordinates and locations, and if you figure it out from the comic book, then you know where they went.
Can you imagine if Disney Plus says, "And now we have Zoom"? People would freak out.
Well, that's like going on with the end of WandaVision,
because people would think it's this Zoom.
Yeah, right. No, I screenshotted
like,
it and I nerded out. So I kind of know where she sent some of the charges to. A lot of them are relevant to places the Avengers have been, but not in the same time that they were there. Some of them went to they went to Titan before Thanos' planet went to shit. They went to Xandar. They went to a lot of important places in the MCU. I think that it probably is a distraction because these places are already important, and if the timekeepers want the flow of time to go as it is, then these things need to stay the way they need to be for events to occur as they always occur. So I do think it's a distraction. I don't think that the TVA in this situation is real. I think this probably has something to do with the Eternals, but or a way to connect to the Eternals before people go see it. But yeah, I think her plan, I believe that her plan is just that she doesn't want to be a Loki, and this revolves all around all Lokis in general.
Who doesn't want to be a Loki?
She seemed very distraught about it. But I think it has something to do with just Lokis in general in the multiverse, but also I think this is just the play at connecting this particular show to the Eternals.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point. The whole thing, the different Lokis, and we got a little piece of Sylvie's sort of upbringing versus Loki's upbringing. And you have basically, we get the idea that maybe Sylvie didn't have as good of an upbringing as Loki did. And they also throw in that line about princes and princesses, which kind of, solidified Loki's sexuality, which I also thought was an interesting throw in as well. And I really like that because they're kind of adding dimension to the character. And I like that they kind of had that time on the train because it was a lull in the action, but it also gave us time to kind of see the characters in their own element. And there's that really good moment where they kind of catch each other's eye. And you're kind of like, that was a really good moment. The chemistry between these two is amazing. Oh, wow. What, man? What?
It's amazing. It's two really good actors on a train. They could have literally been talking about, like, you know, the Quick Stop and RST video. We would have been fine with them. I don't want to be like the negative Nelly here. You zoomed in on something. I watched this once, and even when you guys asked me to be on this, I was like, do I need to rewatch this? Not really. It's not hooking me. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, WandaVision, I literally watched it the first second I woke up. This, I think I saw 3 days later. I'm not feeling this. And I think part of it has to do with the same thing we were talking about with Black Widow. And that is, I've seen this movie. I've seen how this ends. And you're saying this is a variant version of Loki. All it is screen time for Tom Hiddleston. And if Tom Hiddleston didn't steal scenes, it was great. But one of the things that we have to remember, why was Loki so great? He never was the main guy. There was always Chris Hemsworth. And seeing Loki in a shirt and tie, again, I'm a male, I'm a heterosexual male. It does nothing for me. And seeing her, I was just like, okay, if she's the Enchantress or not. I didn't think, I wanted you to come to me because I would have said Mephisto.
Right.
Just for fun. Just for fun.
And I wanted to be Mephisto so that the internet could be happy.
That would be awesome.
I just want the internet to be happy.
Just give me Mephisto. I just want everybody to be Mephisto. The bird.
Oh, man. See, I mean,
I don't know. I saw Loki die and I felt
to be there too.
Yeah, exactly. I saw Loki die. I felt it. I was in the bag for that. I saw Black Widow and I saw the agony that Hawkeye and her had about which one of them was going to go over that thing. And I felt that. I'm now seeing these people and I feel like I'm watching somebody's own movies. And Loki did this. And one of the neat things about Falcon and the Winter Soldier was you knew that this had ramifications because those guys survived Endgame. You took two characters that died during Endgame and you're literally like just telling me stuff about them. Yeah, that's nice. That's how World Book Encyclopedia got written.
It's character development, my friend. And I really enjoy it. I really enjoy spending this time with these characters that I enjoyed. And I think bringing Loki to the front, giving him the spotlight and spending some time with the bad guy is well worth my time. I mean, it's one of those things where we kind of get to see the shining star like Chris Hemsworth and, Chris Evans, and we get to see them be the good guys. Sometimes we want to live vicariously through the bad guy. And to see Loki, I kind of like, and to be honest, I was kind of like, do I really want to watch this? Now, what hooked me was the world building and some of the other things and kind of like figuring out the puzzle, because the whole thing with the TVA, figuring out what's going on with the variants, figuring out what's going on with all the time authority and all this other stuff. I enjoy that sort of stuff and I like the story. But I also think that, Tom Hiddleston, I think, giving him this platform and sort of this character to kind of, spend some time with him, I think is a great, and to your point, the thing about these MCU shows is, Slash Film came out with this really good thing where they were saying, nothing really happens in these shows. When WandaVision starts, Wanda is on her own and grieving. When WandaVision ends, WandaVision is on her own and grieving. When Falcon and Winter Soldier starts, dude has the shield and he's the Captain America. When Falcon and the Winter Soldier ends, he's got the shield and he's Captain America. That's kind of
short-sighted, though. That's selling those shows.
But these shows are kind of starting. The more I think about it, like they're kind of set up to, if you don't watch the show, you kind of don't miss anything. Like you just kind of.
WandaVision killed people in Collateral Damage, and then for about a 6-month stretch, she kidnapped people. And Falcon had, the fight of his life. I just think that there's a difference, and there was some real growth with real characters. What I'm interested
You don't think there's growth here with Loki, though?
With Loki, but here's the thing. It's a version of Loki.
That's true.
It's a version of, the best part of this series was when he broke into the time variant office and saw his own demise. And the acting that Tom Hiddleston did then is as high quality as it is. This is not a knock on Tom Hiddleston. What I don't need to see is a character that died on a train. Do something here. And if you're telling me that he's got to go in and fix time anomalies, then if you only have 6 episodes, spend 3 of them.
See, I think this episode was basically
or
him
fighting
getting
things
to
that
know
Yali
Sylvie.
could tell me about a comic book. Do that. Go somewhere, not just tell me something and assume that because I'm in the bag for this, because I've been with them since Iron Man 1, that I'm just going to go forward. And Disney Plus knows that. And the thing about the numbers that are being skewed, the PR numbers, the fact that this is being streamed more than Falcon and WandaVision, the reason is because of the Wednesday night thing.
Yeah.
And they're saying, well, people love Loki. This is that's not the case. It's people are home on Wednesdays, and now that the vaccine exists, we can go out on Fridays.
Yeah, I think the thing about WandaVision and also with Captain America and Winter Soldier is that those shows, and including Loki, I think they all have a job, and those jobs are to, if you watch when we release the next string of movies, you're going to know what the hell is going on. WandaVision was to set up the next Doctor Strange film. Falcon and Winter Soldier was to set up the next, Captain America film.
Something,
right. Something rather related to that. This one, I'm pretty certain Loki is to set up the Eternals. So these shows have a job. Even the Miss Marvel show that's eventually coming out, that's to set up the Marvels, the next, Captain Marvel film. These shows have a job to do. The problem is that the Loki one is not as being as upfront about the job. It's not as, and it's taking too long to let us know, like, this is going to be really important later. So we have to keep watching it. Like for WandaVision, I stayed up till 3:00 in the morning on that Friday so I could watch it and go into work the next day tired as fuck. But I knew I needed to see what was going on WandaVision. Same with Captain.
What if your boss watches this show?
Yes, that's true. But still, it's like, for me, it felt like I needed to be a part of it. And I like Seth said, I waited a couple of days to watch Loki. I've never stood up to watch Loki, just because like I said, I don't think it knows what it's trying to do. I know it knows what it has to do, but how to get there.
I don't think we've seen sort of the end game of this. I think the 4 and 5 are going to be the episodes where stuff gets real. And I think we're kind of like, this was kind of the filler episode, if you will. It was the episode where we had to get Loki and Sylvie on the same page and kind of bridge that space. And I do think that this was in scope a grandeur episode, because the last couple episodes have been people sitting in rooms talking, and in this one they're in the middle of
a train.
Well, they're
a train on a different planet.
Did you see the last 10 minutes? You're kind of coming off as a dick here.
No, that was a joke. That was a joke. Do you know what I thought would have been amazing is if Loki finds out that Coulson came back to life, because he killed Coulson. And if you could bring Coulson back,
I'm not even sure they're aware they're even going to bring Coulson back, because they've kind of pulled the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. timeline and kind of pulled it off of the MCU, because
their research.
Yeah, because MCU was supposed to be in line with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. back in the day when Joss Whedon was the architect. Right. And then they started to skew to the point that they just ripped it apart.
But if you could incorporate, you have him, he was just in Captain Marvel, you definitely have him. The callbacks that were amazing in WandaVision with Darcy and Agent Wu. If you could do that, if you could bring Coulson back, even if it's just for a cameo, that would be incredible. And I think people would go gaga for that.
Well, this show's kind of doing its own thing. And, I'm just waiting for Owen Wilson to say, wow. He's going to say it on his jet ski, So back to sort of what happens is we get on this train because they end up on this planet, which is Lamentis. Lamentis in 2077, which kind of sits out in, I think the only thing in the comics really is it's on the edge of Kree space, which is
Yes.
kind of interesting. So they're on this planet and it's about to get hit by a meteor. And it was one of the apocalypses in the Tempad. And they kind of get there and, you know, of course, poor planning on Sylvie's part, they're out of juice. And they have to figure out a way to charge this, which, I mean, that part was kind of like, really? You didn't like, even when you go on a trip, you charge your iPad. So she didn't charge her iPad. They end up on this thing. And then it kind of gives us an excuse for those two to do some walking, to do some talking. Loki finds out how the enchanting thing works, which, you know, I've seen some people online saying, did Loki enchant Enchantress? I don't think it went either way, but it's kind of like them kind of getting to know each other. And then we get the train episode, the train sort of piece. So
Don't they fall asleep?
that's when they get on the train.
Oh, okay, sorry. Sorry.
But like in this whole speech, when Sylvie's talking to Loki, they talk about how the Minutemen from the last episode had like dropped a little nugget of knowledge, because I wasn't paying attention. And she said, you know, this is all real or something along the lines, because we find out all the Minutemen and the people who work at the TVA are in fact variants, which it's kind of one of those weird throwaways, but it's all set up like that whole sort of, if this episode exists for one reason, it's for her to utter this line and give this sort of backstory on the TVA, because how would this sort of come out is the fact that, you know, the TVA is run by variants. So what was everybody's sort of reaction to that sort of like, I guess, revelation, if you will?
Rachel, how about you?
Rachel?
Oh, I think Rachel. Did
Rachel, are you on mute?
Oh.
I think Rachel's frozen. Oh no. I guess I'll go until she unfreezes. I wasn't surprised by that because I read. But unfortunately. I think for, I guess, like the average person watching, like that would be like a very exciting thing, because then it causes you to kind of question everything you've been watching so far.
Yeah.
You know, like what those characters believe to be true. Like, you know, Mobius said, I've always been here. There's nothing like that, when they kind of had that like religion-esque talk about, you know, like believing and faith and all that other stuff, it makes that conversation seem different. So I can see that being very exciting for someone who doesn't know. For me, it's kind of like, oh, now we get into, you know, to the hopefully the good part, and the train will move along, as Seth likes to bring up. But I thought it was cool to see it the way it was done, kind of like, you know, her in her memories, remembering where she was before the TVA, and also her dropping, like that was hundreds of years before.
Yeah.
So that gives them a little bit of like a timeline of where things are taking place in the MCU overall. So I thought that was really cool. But I just, like I said, I wish it was done maybe in that when she first got caught, and not in episode 3 in a filler episode. Like, she had her already. Why couldn't we done it when they were in the Roxxon Mart? You know what I mean? Like, we could have done it there, but it's still very cool. And if it means what it means, like it did in the comics, then we are about to get to the goods, you know, and so hopefully people, and hopefully Seth will stick it out. But I also am kind of like not totally on board on the train.
I watched Inhumans. I saw.
I watched Inhumans too.
I didn't even watch Inhumans.
This is not even close to as bad as some of the stuff.
And that had a job too, and it couldn't do it. It could not.
No, and just to clarify, like, I know Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. diverted, but yes, I consider Runaways and Cloak and Dagger, they're all part of this. Like, they're all they're not as tied in. You know, I remember my favorite part of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is when they're watching that news report and you see the crawl of Wilson Fisk indicted. It was to go with Daredevil and all those different things. And all I'm saying is the production value is extraordinary.
Yes.
And on our podcast on the Hall of Justice, we never talk about the production. I have a standard line, and I say that Ryan Reynolds was great as Green Lantern. It's not his fault he fought a cloud. Like, that's the idea. And so it to me, it goes to story. And I'm not trying to spend them money. What I'm trying to do is give me something that just makes me consider that this Loki has ramifications for the Loki that I saw. And I'm not seeing that. And watching him figure this out and then say, the guy we're catching is you, but it's not you. I don't know. Maybe I just wasn't high enough. That's all.
Welcome back, Rachel.
Technology.
So what did you think about the revelation?
I didn't expect for them people to be variants of the TVA. I don't know. That was not where my initial thoughts were going. I mean, for this whole episode, kind of what Yali was saying, although with all the truth and stuff, I felt like we only have 6 episodes for the first season or however long they choose to do the show. And I like the quietness, but I love the action-packed nature of it. And to have some backstory is nice, but I need a little more when we're on a time crunch of only having 3 more episodes to go. And, they're talking about, backstories and sharing, like having that personal connection and sharing what they have to achieve and what the TVA is about. But I kind of wanted more. I don't know. I wanted more spoilers to drop. It was just a quieter episode, even though like the ending was like explosive and action stuff. That was just my take on it, I guess.
So I mean, like we kind of talked about the train a little bit, but who thought Loki? I mean, who was like kind of bummed out that Loki didn't make out with himself? Because like I was like they're gonna make out, because they did that whole speech and Loki did that really corny speech about love being a dagger, and I love that Sylvie was just like, that's trash, which I thought was kind of fun. But Loki being the narcissist that he is, I'm surprised he didn't just kind of end up with himself at that. Did anybody else kind of enjoy that? I guess.
I mean, I thought it was cute that they bonded. But like Loki's love Loki, so like it was only a matter of time before they caved and give into themselves. Because this is probably not the same Enchantress from the comic books. I don't think that they would have the same relationship that they do in that realm. So I wasn't totally expecting for them to make up, but if they did, like they're 2 hot people, why not have 2 hot people do that? And we don't get a lot of that in the MCU anyway. So I mean, if any show is gonna have a sex scene, I'm gonna bank it on Loki being the one.
What's the best Marvel sex scene?
We don't have one. Oh well, Daredevil had
Jessica
a really
Jones
great
and Luke
one.
Cage.
Oh yeah, they broke a lot of things.
They broke.
I was sitting in front of the actress who played Jessica Jones watching that, and it was
no way.
I was at New York Comic-Con, and it was funny because they put press all the way in the back, and then we were kind of like, why are we all the way in the back? And then like after they did their intro, all of them went behind us and sat behind us.
Oh my god!
And I had Carrie Ann Moss sitting behind me, and I was just like, oh my god, it's Trinity. But like that scene came on, and I'm just like,
holy moly! I know.
And then
you did that.
This is what she does. She goes.
Netflix said to me, "Why are you playing this so many times?"
Right.
Talk about zooming in.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's the thing. It's Disney, so they've kind of been watching their P's and Q's with these guys, and it's kind of. I mean, I always thought like like the whole thing with Chris Evans, and I thought with Scarlett Johansson we're going to get together in which one was that, Winter Soldier, or which one was the one where they ran off together?
Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I thought.
Niece,
yeah.
When she was in the apartment.
It was so creepy when that whole thing you figure out. Yeah. It's
the best, the most sexual line though is when Iron Man, when he's putting the suit together and Pepper walks in on him and she goes, "This is not the worst thing you've seen me do."
Oh my god. That's one thing you people don't realize is when you watch the really, really early stuff back when Paramount was in charge of Marvel, it's like night and day. Also, when you put the factor of the fact that Robert Downey Jr. was like, nobody would touch him when they made the first Iron Man. Like,
they couldn't get insurance. Yeah.
I know. It's like a totally different universe. And then it kind of cleans itself up and Disney-fies itself as it goes along. Can
I just offer a quick Marvel story?
Sure.
I'll offer this. You guys will dig this. So my wife worked for Marvel, but in the time pre-Disney. So she was in licensing and she worked there when it was Spider-Man 3. So that's the timeline. The Topher Grace Venom. And when she worked there, she came home one day and said, Marvel's going to finance their own movie. And I said, wow, that's bold. That's pretty, because they had just come out of bankruptcy. Like, that's pretty bold. And then she said, and this was at least 2 months before Robert Downey Jr. was named, she says, they're going to do Iron Man. And my reaction, and I didn't have a podcast back then, but I said to anyone who would listen, I said, that's the stupidest idea I've ever heard. I said,
I was right there with
an
you.
Iron Man comic book or cartoon ever really gripping? I said, except when he was drunk. I said, this is going to be a death knell. And like, I can't get that out of my head when I watched him flip his hand and bring all the people back and, do and get all, at the end of Endgame. And I'm thinking to myself, I poo-pooed that. I'm mortified.
Man, he's turned. I mean, for those that live through like him, like getting caught in the hotel room with the woman dressed like Superwoman. Like he's had night and day, and it's great to see it though. I mean,
it's a great reclamation project. Yeah.
And then, like, for those that want to kind of deep dive in that, because I think Jon Favreau is going through the same thing now with The Mandalorian. But like, if you want to kind of an insider look on that, watch Chef, which he made.
It's a great movie.
If it's basically him talking about Iron Man 2, essentially, with all the same people. I mean, you get to see why Jon Favreau kind of left and kind of like took a break from the MCU because they basically, I mean, I'm terrified they're going to do the same thing with Mandalorian. And he's just kind of pushing them back saying, hey, I got this. And they're like, but baby Yoda.
See, I think it's weird to go back to Marvel. I think it's weird that the Shang-Chi with the 10 rings, because they mocked the 10 rings in Iron Man 3. Making Ben Kingsley an alcoholic actor is to me was an insult to the comic book. I thought that was big bad.
I thought that was
I just worry that they're retconning that.
I don't think they'll retcon it, but like, cause see, if you watch the short where Ben Kingsley is in jail, like the 10 rings comes to kick his ass, essentially. Like he's kind of like one of those things where like he's in jail and he's like, a big celebrity. And like at the end, the big twist was the 10 rings came for him, which was kind of, showed us that they were out there and they were going to eventually come.
You notice that's not on Disney Plus. Those shorts are not on there. The Agent Carter one, like those tell stories and they interweave this whole thing.
I missed those because those were great. Like a funny thing happened on the way to Thor's hammer.
It's a great one.
Those were just genius. And they were a way to they were like less than 10 minutes and they gave you everything you needed and they packed everything that you could ever want in 10 minutes. And it was amazing.
And I love how lazy we all are because I have the Blu-ray right over there. And I'm like, I miss those things because it's not on the touch of a button. But we're all guilty of it. Like we all fall we go down that rabbit hole.
Did Rachel freeze again? Hi, Rachel.
No, I'm still here.
The first time you froze, you were so deep in thought.
She did.
I am listening and soaking it all in. No, it's to be interesting how the second half of this show goes, though, because like it said, it slowed down a bit, and then we got a lot happening in the last 5 minutes of the episode, and I just kind of want to see where it goes. I don't know. I kind of agree with Yali said where it's not sure of its demographic, and I don't know if that's hurting it or if it just makes viewers confused, like from people that don't know a lot about Marvel to the people that do know a lot about Marvel. I feel like you're just kind of
but Rachel, is this the same thing that they did when they introduced the Guardians? Like, no, mainstream people didn't know who they were.
Yeah, I remember that.
And they introduced them in a way like almost like an arrogance, like well, we're putting it on, so you're going to see it. And is Loki just taking liberties because they're saying, well, the fans are in the bag for this, so we can pay this off whenever we want. And if we want to have, Sylvie fall asleep on a train, like literally they can do that because, they stick their chest out and they'll just like say, well, this is us. This is what we do. And it's just so funny that even though, like, I love that this show can have the ability to criticize it because they might pay it off.
Yeah,
they might pay it off in 5 and 6. And then you'll be like, oh, the train makes sense.
I thought the same thing in WandaVision. Like, I was like, how are they going to pay this off? How is this going to go anywhere? And they proved me wrong. The payoff was great. It did some emotionally powerful things. And now I'm just kind of like, you know what? I'm gonna wait this out. I'm gonna see what happens. It's only 6 episodes. If it was like 24 and we were here, I'd be like, but we're like 3 in. We're halfway in. And we kind of got to the end, and like I have a feeling stuff. I mean, on that note, the show and this episode ends. I mean, like I said, this show was only like 30 minutes, for crying out loud, 30 freaking minutes. And the show ends, and Sylvie and Loki are watching an apocalypse together, and it's kind of beautiful, but it just kind of cuts to black. And they played 2 songs. They bookended the episode in 2 very sort of on the nose songs. And they play us out, and it's like, so what do people think is going to happen next? Is like, more Mobius going to show up? And I'm assuming Mobius is going to show up and sort of been like, we've been looking all over for you guys. So what does everybody think is going to happen next episode? Rachel, we'll start with you because I've kind of got a humdinger because I've been like, I fell down the rabbit hole about this one. But this is why I'm so psyched, because I fell down a rabbit hole. I'm like, I think I know what's going to happen.
I mean, I feel like Mobius has to make some kind of appearance in the 4th episode just because he wasn't here for that. And there wasn't much TVA-esque stuff kind of happening. It was more just focused on Sylvie and Loki. So there has to be some kind of introduction to that. And then also like kind of breaking down like the thought pattern of like maybe the people that work at the TVA, because they don't know that they're all variants of people. They're just like, this exists and this is how we've been and this is how things go. And then hopefully maybe seeing some things that have unfolded from Sylvie, setting off the capsules in different dimensions. So a little bit of both. They're going to really have to pack it in at this point because we're at the halfway point, and I feel like it's easing viewers in with the first episode, like a lot of setting up. Then we're like riding along with the second one, pulling them in, and then it's like, okay, we got to speed through these last 3 episodes
because they were they were right at the timekeepers when the episode started, which that would have kind of like. Then we kind of dropped into this episode, which was a bottle episode, but like they were literally at the gold elevators to go confront the timekeepers. Seth, what do you think is going to happen next? Do you have any predictions?
The only prediction I have is that the big bad is someone else, that she's not it, that this is not a red herring, but that she'll become more of an ally by the end of this than, because if the bad guy's a hero, then the other villain's going to be heroic, and then you'll have someone else, something else. I don't know. Maybe who's the names. Who's Owen Wilson's boss? What's her name?
Renslayer.
Maybe she's the architect of this badness. Like maybe there's something there. All I'm saying is if all this is a long battle between Sylvie and Loki, then I'll watch your Black Widow prequel.
I don't think we're going there.
No, I expect more. So I'm counting on more.
I'm just glad that I said all the same things about the Black Widow thing last episode, and Seth said it today.
Oh, really?
So I seem less of a jerk.
Did you guys do this show for WandaVision too?
No.
Did you guys agree that in WandaVision, when she takes off at the very, very end, like some hero should have gone after her.
Doctor Strange was supposed to, but
Doctor Strange was supposed to.
But the thing is they didn't want to introduce a male like sort of superhero in to take away from her story at the end, and that made sense.
So that could have been a Cumberbatch. Like even if it's just like Monica Rambeau goes, wait, and she takes off. Like I'm not saying capture her, like get her to the point of where she's hiding, but she committed atrocities. And she just left, and she's like, these people are not going to look at me the same way. Like, no freaking kidding. And then where does Vision get money? Why does Vision have money to buy a deed, but Falcon can't get a loan? Sorry.
I mean, he's technically,
I just had to redeem myself.
He's technically Tony Stark's kid, so he's got money. He's got Stark money.
True. That's true. Oh wow, that's hilarious. What happens next? I have two feelings about the show. I think that Sylvie's ultimate plan is kind of like what happened in the last season of Westworld, which is kind of trying to wake everyone up and have them realize that everything you thought was real is not. Everything they're telling you is a lie. I think that's kind of, and I think it might have something to do. I still think it has something to do with Roxanne, even though I can't put two and two together.
I'm hoping you get 2 for 2 with the Roxanne.
Yeah, I still think it's something to do with Roxanne. I still maybe like it's some sort of like Matrix-esque thing, Westworld-y-esque thing where they're controlling people and whatnot. Again, I still don't think that the timekeepers are real, and if they are, then they're probably variants of other characters. Like one of them kind of looks like I keep forgetting that version, like the cool looking Hulk whose name kind of sounds like Archimedes or something like that. Anyways, one of them kind of looks like Hulk to me, and some of them look like some of the other characters. I think that they're probably variants of themselves, but I don't think that the timekeepers are real. And again, I think that the ultimate end game for this show is to somehow relate back to the Eternals. So it could even flip it on itself and say that the Eternals are part of the timekeepers themselves, or related to them. I also just wanted to touch on quickly, or maybe get your opinions on, like, Loki's sexuality. Like, it became such a big thing on the internet. Disney's not really the greatest at representing LGBTQ characters anywhere. So I feel like him coming out was kind of like a throwaway just to like please the gays. Like, here, look, we said it. And for that to be like the big deal that it was doesn't make sense when, like, in the comics, Loki had sex with a horse.
Well, it's like the whole thing with LeFou.
Why do you care if
he's the Beast? They did the same thing.
Yeah, like it, I don't know how sincere this coming out is, so I couldn't feel, I think, how other people felt about it, knowing how Disney treats.
No, but Disney's done that before. Are you allowed to curse on the show?
I don't think so, and I apologize to Kyle who's watching somewhere.
So in broadcasting, we had this phrase. There's a town in Illinois called Effingham.
Yes.
Effingham, Illinois. Okay, and there's a town in Wisconsin called Sheboygan.
Yes.
So okay, so. Oh,
thank you, Kyle. The voice of God.
The voice of God has given us permission
Disney
to swear.
was in control when Lando Calrissian fucked a robot.
That's true.
But like, that was something like, if you paid attention.
You know what?
Like, most of the people went to see that were kids, and
when Elsa comes out, they will get my blessing. When Elsa comes out,
they refuse to let Raya the Last Dragon just flat out say that these two characters love each other. Like, anyone with eyes could tell that these are lesbians. Like, what's the big deal? Like, them saying Loki is a bisexual is like not enough for me. It doesn't mean anything because they're not gonna, really go in on it.
I think it was kind of like it went without saying that Loki was like that. Like, I think Loki has kind of always been like I mean, Tom Hiddleston is a very handsome man. That's all I gotta say.
But like, it can't just. In order for this to mean something to the LGBTQ community, which I'm a part of, it has to mean something, not just be something that you mentioned. And you don't especially want the in a filler episode
thing either.
Yeah, and in a filler episode, like, that means we're not going to follow up on it at all. So,
well, they're saying that's going to be in the Eternals, which it might be 2 throwaway lines.
Yeah, I don't. It's like I said, I think Loki has too much of its job to fill some sort of bridge for Eternals, and so no matter what happens at the end, I'm concerned that the ending of this show is not going to be satisfactory to the story of Loki himself. It's not going to mean anything to Loki himself or Sylvia themselves because it has to fulfill a job for somebody else.
But I don't think it's a throwaway in that if you watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and you read the Truth comic book, it goes dark. It gets really dark. And there's a lot of social commentary. I don't think that anything was restricted. Like it either adds to the story or it doesn't. And
I just
what I don't like token. You know what I mean? Like I don't like when it's token stuff that is to check a box. But I really do think, and I'm giving them maybe the benefit of the doubt, if you saw Carl Lumley's performance, nothing is just checking a box. Like that was deep.
It was. All right, Dan. I know it's bottling up. Release it.
Okay. So my theory is we still got Richard E. Grant on the IMDb who hasn't shown himself. What if old Loki is in charge of the TVA? What if they roll through those doors and it's Richard E. Grant, Loki, saying, I already did it, boys. Too late. And then it's kind of like, whoa. And then what if the other sort of like, TVA, the Mobius guy is another Mobius? What if we've got a Mobius strip going on where we've got two Mobiuses? I mean, there's kind of things I've been like reading and kind of things I've been thinking like, what if this happened? And what if this happened? And what if that happened? Because I really think that's the only way to sort of do this right. Because we brought the timekeepers in. I don't know. I really don't think the internal thing is going to like sort of go anywhere because like I said earlier, these things kind of start and end in like the same place. I mean, we might get Loki back, but like maybe old Loki and young Loki will kind of like come face to face like the other Vision and Vision came face to face. So that's kind of like my sort of like tinfoil hat theory. I mean, like I said, we haven't seen Richard E. Grant yet. He does look like Tom Hiddleston. Like, I mean, if we could have that, I mean, if we've already had one Loki doing that, we can have another one. That's sort of like that's the rabbit hole I went down. I'm like, you know what? That would be
a send-off. What about Rene Russo or Chris Hemsworth?
They might be red herrings too, because the other thing about these cast lists is I've looked at the Black Widow cast list, and there are people that are in that cast list that aren't in the film. So, really? I mean, yeah.
More shorts that won't be on Disney Plus.
You're gonna get an email from Disney Plus, and you
subscription revolt.
We heard you had some comments.
We're gonna make you watch 10 hours of ESPN Plus just because.
So yeah, that's kind of my rabbit hole where I hope it goes, because like you know what, I kind of like I drank the Kool-Aid after Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I was like, okay, I'm in for a pound now, because like I didn't think it was going to go as dark as it did with like, when they got into the whole thing with like, like the Black Super Soldier and his journey and how that sort of like echoed what was going on, and they just kind of hit that like sort of like nerve right when we were going through after the George Floyd thing. It just, everything sort of hit, and I was just like, wow, like I'm surprised they did that with the Disney show. So I kind of like, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, whereas before during WandaVision I was like, I don't know if this is going to get good, I don't know what's going on with this, because I kind of figured out WandaVision like 3 episodes in, because I read the comic book of that too, so we kind of knew where it was going. But like, are they going to be able to hit those emotional notes and give us this character development that's going to keep us locked in week after week? And I think they did, and they definitely did some different things. They're taking risks, which I'm interested in. So I'm hoping they take some risks. I'm hoping they do some different things, and I'm hoping they surprise us, which they kind of seem to always do, hopefully. But this might be the only dud of the show so far.
Mm-hmm. Well, they still have to give us the Sylvie backstory episode, which is more than likely the next one. I mean, I think they gave us a little bit of exposition on her in the train, but I still think that they're planning at least half an episode dedicated
I really
to Sylvie's time in the TVA.
Oh, I hope not.
I hope they don't
coming.
do that.
I know it's coming because
like we thought we were going to get an episode. We talked about getting an episode from somebody else's perspective, and we got like a couple minute recap because I don't think there's a lot of time here to play with because there's only 6 episodes. So I'm hoping they don't do that because I mean we might get some flashbacks, but
I think we're getting at least 20 minutes of like little Sylvie in the TVA, like at least.
I think flashbacks amongst action will work better on this, just because we have the whole time crunch in the episodes, because you got to keep it moving, but also give more backstory. That would be, I mean, in my opinion, that would be the best way to do it. I've seen that happen in a lot of shows, and I feel like that works better instead of spending 20 minutes of the episode, like, going,
they gotta sell merch. They gotta sell you a baby Sylvie Funko Pop, and the only way to do so is to give her 10 minutes of screen time.
No, you got to go to Hot Topic to get it. It's a Hot Topic exclusive.
It's gonna glow in the dark and everything. Like they gotta sell merch at the end of the day, and it's gonna be a baby Sylvie Funko Pop. I can feel it. So they're gonna have to dedicate some time to her because the very second Miss Minutes was like the thing, and next you know, and the Miss Minutes pop is dropping tomorrow, and the glow in the dark one is on Walmart.
Miss Minutes, voiced by the great Tara Strong.
Of course. Like, I mean, again, this is still a corporation at the end of the day, so they're going to make some decisions that benefit the corporation and not necessarily the property itself.
I can shed a little bit of light on this, which is kind of interesting. So I kind of, in some respects, work in some of this kind of stuff very vaguely. And what happens is like, there's a real struggle because they're trying to keep this stuff under wraps, like with the whole Baby Yoda thing. Like nobody knew Baby Yoda. They kind of intentionally they're intentionally vague, I think, about all this stuff. Much as you think they're merching the crap out of this stuff, I can tell you that retailers are kind of frustrated with the fact that they know that leaks happen and they don't give you the assets until, they know that it's going to hit the internet. Because that I know is something, the merch thing is something that I've experienced with, and I know for a fact that they know that this stuff comes out. They know that this stuff they're trying to keep this stuff. They do value the story more than they value the merch. I can say that for a fact. I can't allude on that on the podcast or on this thing, but I will say, I know for a fact the story comes above the dollar. And when I found that out, I was actually really surprised.
I hope so, because the first episode of Loki, and next Hot Topic's like, don't you want to buy this Loki dress that makes you look just like Tom Hiddleston? I was like, I kind of do.
Well, there's a Loki shirt already in Hot Topic.
It just has a Loki. There's a Sylvie shirt too, and everything. Like now, like her like chest piece type of leathery thing. Like now you can buy that. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I still bought it, so who am I to talk?
See,
they got me.
Okay, so I'm actually getting the wrap up sign from the man above. So I guess in a couple hours we'll find out what happens. So I'm excited. I mean, hopefully we don't get like the whole episode again from somebody else's perspective. If we do, even I'll call it and say this kind of sucks. Like if we have to do the train episode again from the guy's perspective who walked in and walked out.
We'll get it from the lady at the bar who had to listen to him sing the entire time. Like how does she enjoy it? Like
I mean, I do have to say I really enjoyed when he threw the mug down. He was like another. Like I was like, yes. Like,
Is this are we only allowed to talk about Marvel things? Can we reference we reference Star Wars? Yeah. Loki comes out tomorrow, but for cord cutters, so does Superman and Lois. Sorry, Superman and Lois is first. Superman and Lois is fantastic. Fantastic. That show is brilliant. And I will watch Superman and Lois. Not The Flash. The Flash jumped the shark.
It did.
Superman and Lois, they are doing yeoman's work on that. And for cord cutters, it's only available at around the same time that Disney Plus releases their stuff. Superman and Lois over Loki.
Allegedly. Just you have to say allegedly at the end of these things. Allegedly.
No, I'm saying they come out, but they come on your apps at the same time.
Okay. I don't agree about Superman and Lois, but okay.
Do you have anything to plug before we wrap
good.
up?
No, it
Yeah, Lois is great.
I hate it.
He had to
He's a
chime
moody
in.
son. He has a moody son.
Nobody fell asleep on a train in Superman.
It's true.
I just fell asleep during the episode, so I guess.
Oh,
Oh.
Just saying.
Oh man.
you guys are fun.
Thank you. You are too. Oh God.
It's been fun. So anybody has anything to plug?
Buy Rachel's book.
Yeah, that book.
So you have a book. What's the book?
Yes, it's a middle grade novel, first novel I ever wrote.
That's awesome.
You can check me out on my book blog, Life of
Hold it up.
Bibliophile.
Oh, I will look next time.
Wait.
Grab your book, hurry.
I know. I'm such a bad author. Hold on.
Could have been doing this when you were frozen.
You should have
Right,
had a
just
wall of
froze.
them in the background.
Bravo.
Yeah,
Had a wall of them in the background.
great.
Just
It's
like,
summertime. It's angsty. It's
so
Oh,
good.
that's so
teen
cool.
tween love. So if you like that kind of stuff, add to your TBR.
Who doesn't love teen tween love?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Congratulations. That's
Oh,
really
thank
cool.
you.
I totally love young adult, bad romance stuff in a non-creepy way. Like seriously. I'm a sucker for that stuff, and I don't like to admit it, but I've been to some Twilight launch parties. I'll just say it, leave it there.
Me too. I was a big
Team Jacob. Woo!
no.
I like my vampires, Brad Pitty. That's all I'll say.
Okay.
Also, check out VCR Redo tomorrow.
Yeah.
Caddyshack.
Seth, do you want to plug your thing, sir?
The Hall of Justice comes out on Thursdays. This week we have Ren and Stimpy voice actor Billy West.
Ooh.
Awesome.
He was also on the Howard Stern Show for years.
Mhm.
Last week we had Tim Sheridan, who wrote Batman: The Long Halloween, as well as he wrote episodes of the new Masters of the Universe show and the new CGI Transformers show. And Tim Sheridan, you mentioned LGBTQ, and Tim Sheridan, who's openly gay,
Yes.
he says that Transformers has a massive gay fan base because of the whole robots in disguise. And it's a podcast I'm really proud of because I never knew that. And I love educating. I love learning things. And that's something I would never have thought. But the whole idea of these characters disguise themselves, and that's what many gay people have dealt with. And that's really, really fascinating.
It's like the same reason why we love X-Men. It's that whole having to hide who you are.
That makes sense, but I never saw it.
I never heard that either.
And Tim Sheridan was last week, and this week is Billy West. And then on the podcast, we will be reviewing Black Widow. You guys are welcome if you want to be on that.
You sound very excited about it.
I need a bulletproof vest if I go on that show.
He's gonna fight for.
Oh no! On the 8th, episode 241, we're going to revisit The Sopranos after the new prequel trailer.
Oh, that's the one thing. I will lay hate on The Sopranos.
The Sopranos. Wow,
dude. I watched that last episode and I was I sold all my box sets. I was like, F this.
Oh no way.
That was worse than Lost. Worse than Lost. I've never been so angry in my life. It's different when you sort of mainline stuff like The Sopranos or Lost. You kind of don't have the thing when you're watching it week to week and you're kind of ingesting it and you're kind of looking forward to it. And the way it just cuts off like that at the end. I mean, I get the artistic decision and choice of it, but the problem is there was so much there left for Tony to explore and to happen to Tony. I wanted to see more. I wanted to see him fall. I figure I hate to be one of those fanboys that they owed it to us, but we needed to see Tony fall. We needed to see him either get redemption or fall. I mean, it was going towards that arc, and I felt like the popularity hit, and he just he just couldn't do it.
No, I get it. There's an element to that. I just think that whatever it was not going to be satisfying.
Yeah.
You didn't want to see him bury a kid. Like there were things that it wouldn't go to, and it was interesting. If you give me 30 seconds, I'll tell you a really funny Sopranos.
Go ahead.
So the Sopranos ends. This is in the days of cable.
Yeah.
And this is before the apps and all those things. And so The Sopranos aired on a Sunday night. Well, I was working for Sportsnet New York, which is the TV home of the New York Mets. And we were on a television show called Daily News Live. And they decided in the pre-production meeting that we're going to talk about the finale. Like, it was that much of a pop culture thing that even on a sports talk show, we were going to talk about it. And this writer named Roger Rubin, he's not with the Daily News anymore, but he was in on the meeting. And just to show you how people don't pay attention, he was in the production meeting. We get on the set. We are live. We're on television. This is cable, 5 o'clock. And the host, Gary Apple, says, and what did we make of that Sopranos finale? And this Roger Rubin just goes, hey, don't say anything. I taped it.
Oh,
What a great story.
Oh my God.
I know some people thought there was something wrong with their cable at the time. There was this whole thing, the way it just went to black, that some people actually thought that there was a problem with their feed or whatever, because like you said, this was in the cable days and people thought that there was something wrong.
Just the idea that James Gandolfini's son is an actor and can play this meaty role and can be that, and he's not the main character, he's a side character, but that's what they gave you in the trailer. It's just, it brings it all back. I love it.
I will watch it. Don't get me wrong. I'll watch it, but to me, it was like, Lost is another one that I just, because I called Lost, like, what was it, season 4 or whatever? I kind of called it, but even like they've come out and said, we kind of had to keep going and making filler essentially, but I don't think
speaking of Lost, you just mentioned, do you think that Netflix is going to pay for a manifest finale?
No.
You absolutely don't, not should they? Do you think they will?
They absolutely won't.
Even though it's the #1 show on Netflix
right now. They won't.
Wow. I'm not a manifest person, but you mentioned Lost, and I'm thinking to myself, like, they didn't get that finale moment, and it's literally the #1 show on Netflix right now. I don't know. They listen.
Well, it could happen after the fact too, because I mean, like some of these shows, they're bringing Dexter back. I mean, Dexter was on my list of crappy endings, and they're bringing Dexter back. They already said they're bringing John Lithgow back too, so they're trying to fix it.
Well, if Loki has a crappy ending, they'll just redo it. So here we go.
or no, it'll end with him in the TVA.
Yeah. Great.
So that was Loki. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. We're going to stop talking. Thanks everybody for participating, and have fun and follow your fandom.
Your fandom.